outside in February directing traffic,
right.
Wearing a short sleeve shirt. So that's right.
Good morning, everyone. Matt LaMarsh here with Selling Sandy Springs and Keller Williams First Atlanta. Hope you guys are doing well on this Monday. I just wanted to provide a little bit different intro today for today's story because this is a subject and an organization that's very near and dear to my heart. Mike Lindstrom is with the Sandy Springs Police Department and took just a little time for me to shoot this episode, which I'm eternally grateful for. But in addition, and certainly much more important than that, these men and women put their lives on the line for us every single day, just like hundreds of thousands of police officers across this beautiful country. And so it was very important to me to be able to say that. But in addition, today's video will also include a donate link in the bottom here in the description that will allow you to donate to the Sandy Springs Police Benevolent Fund, which is very, very important for our community to be able to show these men and women just how important they are to us. And so I hope that you will consider giving something to that fund today. Mike, I can't thank you enough, and all of the other men and women for the Sandy Springs Police Department that literally do put your lives on the line every single day for our safety and security. We just can't thank you guys enough for that. So with that, please enjoy.
I'm Mike Lindstrom. I'm a captain with the Sandy Springs Police Department. We're sitting inside of our fitness facility. It's a gym that's been built out. We have weights and exercise equipment on the bottom floor, and then on the top floor we have an area where we do our cardio exercises.
Gotcha. Very cool. And we'll give everyone a pan around. This is a state-of-the-art, I would call it, at least. So in addition to being a police officer, I know you've also cameoed as The Greatest Showman and a couple other positions, worn a couple other hats around the city. But
right. Well, I've been in this area. I've been with Sandy Springs Police Department since we started in 06. Of course, the city started in 05. And then we started shortly after in 06. And prior to that, I was here at Fulton County. So the majority, if not all of my career, except for when I was a detective, I've been in the Sandy Springs area about 20 something years.
Wow.
So, I know the area, I know the community, so I've been able to engage with that community, and with that engagement has brought me leadership Sandy Springs, and then with that I've had some interaction with the chamber, and last year they asked to fill in as an MC, and then they asked me as part of that, I think after the fact, if I would wear a costume. So I had to ask a couple of people in my chain of command if that would be okay, but there really wasn't anything inappropriate in what we were doing. And it's for a good cause, obviously. So I put on the Greatest Showman to start at the chamber event last year's gala, and then they wanted me to reprise that role at Movies by Moonlight this year, so I did it again. The first one was a little easier because it was indoors, and then the second one, obviously, was summertime. So,
a little warm.
We had a lot of fun with it. Definitely had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, my son, of course, sees you every morning at carpool over at Mount Vernon Presbyterian School, but even he walked up to me and said, "I didn't know that Police Officer Mike was the Greatest Showman." And I was like, "Well, he's pretty talented. He could do a lot of different things."
Right. And that's the thing about what we've been able to do with the police department is that we are small enough to where we have to wear many hats, and with that you are able to engage with a lot of the different organizations, a lot of the schools. Along with my career, I've been at Mount Vernon for over 20 years, I estimate. I'm not sure exactly but definitely the upper school wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, in my years of being assigned here and there, you make connections with Holy Innocents and with Weber School and with all these private schools, and then it goes without saying our relationship with Fulton County School System. So I mean, it's just we have to be involved in these schools. And one thing I mentioned to a group, I think last year at Fulton County Schools, was that they're your kids when they're in school, but when they're out of school, they're our kids.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that relationship because the communication is just vital for our ability to do our job.
Sure. And especially for continuity's sake. I mean, you know, obviously school safety is a big kind of glaring issue at this point, but talk a little bit about, you know, I know Fulton County has their own resource within, but talk a little bit about the partnership, not just with public, but certainly with private, that how that relationship works and how you guys are able to, you know, provide additional security and so on.
Well, our city, for the police department purposes, our city is broken into 2 districts, and each district has a commander. I'm the commander of the North District. There's a commander of the South District. So, and each of us has a sergeant and an officer that it specifically is assigned to communicate with the community as a whole. And obviously, if you look at that, there's just tons of things that we can do in the community. One of those things is the schools. Now, everyone's concern is obviously active shooter incidents, you know, especially at schools. So what we've done over the years is we start with a class that we put on. And when you specifically talk about the private schools, because as you mentioned, Fulton County Schools has their own police department. So we communicate with them, but they have their way of how they conduct their business. So if you're talking, you know, you get into the private schools, what we've done with the private schools is we've reached out to them and we've taught this class to all the faculty. And then the next step in that is then you start to drill. And so then you get the teachers involved and the faculty involved, and then the students are involved. So everyone is, and the parents obviously are brought into the loop, and they're all, the school communicates to them what we're doing. But the idea behind that, number one is, obviously we don't want any kind of an event like that happening in the city. So if you look around, drive around for a few minutes, you should see a Sandy Springs police car. And if that should be step number one as far as the deterrent. Then you go to the next level as far as all this training, in the hopes that you never need to use it. However, they're ready, and in their mind, they're going through these drills. And we are out there several times a year, and we have to do it every year because every year there's a new batch of students in these schools. But it's constantly the training, and then, you know, hopefully they understand if we ever do need to do anything like that. It's there. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little more about you personally and kind of your background, how you decided to become a police officer.
That's a good question. Well, I'm originally not from here. I get that question a lot, and jokingly I'll say, someone might ask me where I'm from, and I'll say, well, I'm from Alabama. And obviously I'm not. I'm from Western New York originally, but I've been down in the South probably almost as long as I was up north.
Okay.
So I went to college in Buffalo, and then shortly after that I moved south, because if you look at the weather up north right now, you understand why I was just, you know, outside in February directing traffic, wearing a short sleeve shirt. So that's the reason why I'm in the South.
Compared to like negative 54 or whatever it was.
So there's, you know, obviously when I realized that it was my decision to make after college, I decided that the South was going to be for me.
Yeah.
So I came down. You know, you graduate from college and, you know, you just spend some years learning about maybe what you want to do with your life. And there's a quick question that you ask yourself is, do I really want to do this? And I didn't immediately become a police officer. I became a police officer when I was about 27 years old.
Okay.
So I waited a little bit, which I think beneficially was good for me. I don't think I would have been ready, as some of these kids are starting their jobs at 22, 23 years old as police officers. I don't know if that would have been me. But I started at Fulton County. I worked here in Sandy Springs essentially my entire career, which afforded me the opportunity to meet the people here. So I say that because move forward to where we start with Sandy Springs and we get all these people from different agencies. I'm able to talk to them about what it's like working for Sandy Springs. And don't be surprised, I always tell this story, don't be surprised if someone pays for your dinner. And also don't be surprised if they don't stick around for you to thank them. We don't even know who those people are.
Sure.
So for all of those people, thank you if you've ever bought my dinner or lunch and didn't stick around for me to thank you. I appreciate that. And that's another one of my statements that I'll tell the new guys that come to our town is, it's real easy to be a police in this town because people appreciate what we do. And when someone is thanking you for what you do on a regular basis, it's real easy to do this job.
Sure.
So, you know, and then you just kind of fast forward to where we're at right now. I'm a captain at Sandy Springs. I started as a detective. I made sergeant, then I made captain. And my aspirations are obviously to go higher. I've been to the FBI National Academy this past year, which was an experience that you can't even imagine. You know, people will tell you that it's just something that you'll never forget, and it'll always be something that you hang your hat on, and you don't really think about it until you finish it, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. You're in Quantico, you're running the trails that Agent Starling did in Silence of the Lambs. I mean, it's that kind of surreal feeling.
Very cool.
But here we are in 2019. We just stood up the City Springs. I mean, there's buildings going up all over the place. We're moving and growing. Our police department is moving and growing right along with the city. We're adding officers. We've added a bike unit. It's just awesome to watch the growth of the city, but it's kind of cool for us and how we're growing with them. Personally, I kind of get excited because I'm in a role right now where I'm getting older and don't want to accept that fact, but I'm getting older and I'm looking at some of these young guys, and it's, I never thought in my career that I would get such pleasure out of teaching and mentoring all these younger people. And you don't even realize you're doing it until they're just looking at you with the eyes of almost a child, just soaking in everything you're telling them. And then you start to think about how it is when you're talking to a child, that you better make sure you're telling them the right information, and sharing things that are going to be helpful to them. But yeah, it's just been, it's really flown by these last, whatever it's been, 13 years that we've been a city, or been a police department, been a city 13 years, and it's just flown by. I can't even imagine.
Well, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Well, that's true. And thankfully, I've been, you stop every once in a while and you think, has there been a day that I don't want to go to work? And there really hasn't. And as you get older and you think about what else could I do with my career or my life, and it hasn't hit me as far as this job. And of course, I have an old saying too, is that when, and this really doesn't have anything to do with police work, but when I feel like it's not going to be a good day, I take a moment. I get, before I start my day, I'm able to go in there and see the kids at the school. And when I see the little kids, the 5-year-olds or the 6-year-olds, and I see them for a couple minutes and they are so happy about everything, how can you be not happy about this?
Well, and that's twofold, right? Because as you were talking about before, you've got the support of the community, right? And nationally, that has been a challenge for the last couple of years. But I think, at least in our little micro, world here, between the signs in people's yards saying that we support the police department, to people buying those meals and coffees and Chick-fil-A and everything else that goes along. When you're grateful for what you do, period, every day, I think it gives you perspective, and a day doesn't pass that you don't think about it. So that's really interesting, though, and I think it's a great exercise for all of us, especially with kids. I try to do the same thing, that, like you said, wide-eyed, and nothing can really bring them down, That's a great perspective. So talk a little more about, the community involvement as far as what we can do as a community to support the police department. I think just in my last 4 or 5 years as a president of a homeowners association, people are always asking me, what can we do? How can we get more patrols? We did have a ring of break-ins for a while, and when you live in a metropolitan area, it's just going to happen. It's just a matter of when, right? But talk to us a little bit about what the community can do to better support and assist with the police operations within the city.
Right. No, it's a great point. We, with that community engagement, that community involvement, it's so beneficial for us. So it's that support that we get from the community is so helpful, because when we reach out to people like yourself who are presidents of homeowners association, you get to a point where we can't communicate with everyone, but if we have those people that we can directly contact, and they're your spokespersons for particular neighborhoods, it helps us. Last year our crime rate, knock on wood, went down again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and we almost ask ourselves, how are we doing this? Well, we're doing it because we're able to reach out to everybody that's in our city, and give them ideas or talk to them about the crime. And we're very, 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 if you don't know that already, transparent. And starting with the city, and then obviously we fall under the city's umbrella, and so we're not trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are constantly talking about is entering autos. It's our biggest problem. So we the other captain and I in the districts, we've been talking about how, why not just be almost over the top transparent as far as, and I've had some conversations with people to say, look, if you leave your laptop in your car where it's visible, it's going to be stolen. Let's just call it that. I told you that on February 5th.
Right.
2019, it's going to happen. So when it happens, I can say, I told you so. Obviously I'm joking.
Sure.
But it's the only way to tell people that this is what happens. We had, I just reading, we look at reports that happen, and we share information constantly. So each day we get a report of what happened the night before, and you read it. It's the same thing. Gentleman had his vehicle broken into. Well, it wasn't broken into because the doors weren't locked. So, and a handgun was taken from the glove box. That's now there's a handgun on the street.
Right.
So, these are things that is it something that we don't necessarily want to talk about? I don't think so. I think it's absolutely needs to be, guys. We can, as long as people leave things in their cars, people from other places are going to come to Sandy Springs, because hey, look around.
Yeah.
Look around at some of the places that are in Sandy Springs. If you are from an area in the Metro Atlanta area, and you're thinking about where someone might have some valuable items to steal, Sandy Springs is probably one of the places that they're looking at.
Yeah.
Because of the wealth that we have, and just the businesses that are here. During, we have, gosh, I don't know what they estimate. There's over 100,000 people that live in the city. During the day, there's what, 250,000 people.
200 to 300. Yeah.
So it's and then of course traveling through our city every day, there's probably 500,000 people. 285, 400, all that area, and it's just going to get more with construction. But it's not possible. We cannot do our jobs if we're not engaged with our citizens. So we utilize social media to get our word out. We're working on improving that. We're always looking at different ways to get more engaged in next door, or the other ways that people are communicating without us. We have our coffee with a cop. We're taking that to the next step, and instead of just or in addition to going to the usual spots, the bigger coffee places, now we're taking the coffee to neighborhoods and apartment complexes in areas that we've identified as maybe having a higher crime rate.
Okay.
So we'll take the areas where things are happening and we go to them. And it's not going to be something that we bring a whole team of us like we usually do at the bigger coffee places. There's just a few of us because we want to be able to be approached.
Sure.
And a lot of times I get it. If there's 10 of us, you don't necessarily want to go up and talk to the police. But if there's a couple of us and we're your neighborhood, you know, I'm your district captain, then I would hope that someone could reach out to me and say, hey, this is what's going on. And you know, the thing, I just had this conversation with someone that came to the precinct. You know, you talk to me, I share the information with other units, like our street crimes unit or our narcotics team. They're not getting your information unless you want me to give them their information.
Right.
So they're just going to go off of tips, and we have tip lines, and there's a whole number of ways that we can get information from our community, and they don't even have to get involved, so to speak,
Sure.
as far as being putting themselves at harm's way.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, tell us where we can connect with you guys on Facebook, on Instagram, on, you know, do you guys have an email newsletter that you guys send out anywhere? You know, the website that we can maybe share that
Right.
information.
Well, we do. We just go through the city's website. So
Okay.
it's basically, if you go to the city's website, you know, we have our own page on there. We have our Facebook page. We utilize Twitter. Facebook it seems like Facebook Messenger is always a good way for people because we're on there checking it all the time. So people are giving us information. Obviously, we have to say this out loud sometimes, that the first order of business would be to call 911.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes people are putting tips on Facebook that are real-time stuff that we need to know that right
Sure.
away. So 911 is the way to go, and it's the only way to go because we don't have a non-emergency number, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
People always will say that they don't want to bother 911 because it's not an emergency. Well, all you have to do when you call 911, it's not an emergency, is tell them it's not an emergency.
Right.
And they'll get somebody out to handle
Sure.
whatever the call is in reference to, but it's just one way. And of course now, you know, the city has their call center, which the relationship with them is great. I mean, it's just been really good as far as what we've been able to do. And we remind people that are just coming on, look, you know, we were handwriting reports when we first started. In 2006, when they did have computers,
Yeah.
you know, and we're still handwriting reports because we didn't have all that stuff, but
Sure.
we got rolling, and we were able to you know, and I say that because, and I say this all the time about us, and it goes, and I can speak directly to the police department, but if you expand it out to the city, the police department, we're able to do what we do because of the talent that we have. It's just crazy how someone comes in, and we know that this person that we just pulled from whatever agency we got them from, if they're not brand new, and we say, hey, look, welcome to Sandy Springs. We understand you're pretty good where you're at, but you're at Sandy Springs now. And you got to, you know, you're going to see that you're interviewing for, if you go to interview for sergeant, or you're going to interview for detective or a specialized unit, your interview is against 5 other guys or girls that are really good too. So it's like when you imagine playing a game, and you're playing with really good competition, it just makes you rise up to that competition.
Absolutely.
So it's just been amazing what we've been able to do with the guys and girls that we have at this police department. And then if you expand it out, it goes to the city, and you expand it out, it goes back to the community.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about all the people that you rub elbows with, or, you know, be it, you know, educational force or leadership, Sandy Springs, or perimeter, Sandy Springs perimeter chamber. All those people that you're touching base with, you'll see them again, and they're just always willing to do whatever it takes to get jobs done.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, where in the world are they getting the hours from? Because, you know, we got to sleep sometime, you know, so.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, and you're right. I mean, not just on the community side, but certainly on the business side of things, and certainly the nonprofits, they're all in support just as much as the community is.
If you think about where we're at right now, we're like a block away. You know, it's an undisclosed location. You know?
That's right.
We don't want, it's not necessarily a place we want people knocking on the door to tell us what's going on. But you know, we're a block away from, or a couple blocks away from City Springs. Right down the street is Heritage, where, you know, several Sundays in through the spring to summertime, you have free concerts down there. And then you think about the schools, and you know, they're just kicked up their 5K / educational force just kicked up their 5K to 10K. So to your point, where you're talking about all these you know, nonprofits and, you know, Leadership Sandy Springs and society, Sandy Springs Society, it's just amazing how engaged the community is with each other. And the things that you just kind of hear about them, meaning all those different players, so to speak, trying to get on the same page and working together for one strong goal, and that is to just make Sandy Springs even better than what it is. And it's just, I'm glad I'm here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had this period of time where we've worked our butts off to get to where we're at, and created this time where now we stood Sandy Springs, City Springs up, and now we're ready, I think, to, what do they call it, the next 10. So,
that's right.
You know, going on to the next step, the North End revitalization. It's just going to be really exciting. I'm glad I'm going to be around, or hopefully I'll be around. You know,
absolutely.
You know, for the next 10 years, and just be part of this growth. But you know, for us, it just goes along the same line of what we're always saying. Is just our citizens are so good to us, so we just ask them to continue to trust us with what we're trying to do, and never think about not calling us when, you know, something. I mean, obviously that's the bottom line for us.
Yeah.
You know, you can put a tagline to it if you see something, say something, and things like that. But it truly is. We're here to serve, and you know, it's all about making the city a better place to live, to work, and to play.
Yeah. Very good. Well, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Absolutely. Great job. Hi guys, Matt LaMarsh here with Keller Williams First Atlanta. Hope you guys are doing well. If you have a business or a nonprofit that you'd like to see featured here, please feel free to give me a call at 678-687-4397 or shoot me an email to matt@mattlamarsh.com. Thanks so much.